So I got Chase Cardoza with me. Dude, you have a pretty crazy mission, pretty crazy story. WSAS. What does that stand for? So I want to just dive right in. Like, what is the mission of WSAS?
Yeah. So WSAS, West Shield Adolescent Services. So we have a therapeutic transport company that transport at-risk youth to rehab facilities, wilderness programs, juvenile detention centers,
Mm,
and that's pretty much what we do. We specifically are only transport,
yeah.
and the fact of we want to make sure that we're transporting these students from point A to point B in the safest possible way. So yeah,
Mm.
that's what we do.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of scary, because like I
Definitely.
have a couple people in my family, a couple friends that have like gone to those services, and it's like
Mhm.
you hear the stories after the fact, and it's
Yeah.
like it's a lot. It's like a lot to
Oh yeah,
process.
definitely. Yeah.
So yeah, what do you like go through on like a day-to-day basis with that?
Yeah. So I would say we're the last option for parents. So
Mm,
parents, when they come to us, we are the last option that they've exhausted. They're trying to do it themselves. They've talked to a bunch of different people.
mhm.
And so when they're calling us, their child, grandchild, whoever
Mm,
has legal custody, they're not going to school. They're
mhm.
doing drugs. They're running away. They're doing
Yeah,
all of these things to where now they actually need a higher level of care.
yeah,
So what that looks like is when a parent calls us, they're in distress.
yeah,
It's the worst call that they have to make
yeah.
is, okay, what do I do? How does this work? So usually when the parents call, they're trying to figure out what program do I go to? We don't recommend that. That's not something that we do. We specialize in the transport side of things.
Yeah.
There's educational consultants that you can talk to,
Mhm.
or just start calling around to different programs, and they'll kind of better help you because every student is so different. They
Mm,
have different levels of depression. If they're, on the autism spectrum or something like that, there's
yeah.
so many different types of students, and that's what we try to do. Is we have a wide range of students that we can help. So we can help a student that needs to be transported, that is more on the depressed side, more self-harming.
Mm,
So we're gonna have a total different team for that kind of student. Then you
mhm.
have the students that are in gangs and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. They're not
Mhm.
going to school, all that. Then we have a team that's specialized for that type of student. So
Mm,
such a wide range of agents. We call them agents.
yeah.
So yeah, so that's pretty much it.
No,
Yeah.
it's really interesting, man. So like let's walk out like
Yeah.
a real case scenario. Say
Mhm.
I have a kid,
Yeah.
he's 15 years old.
Yep.
I know he's doing drugs. I've
Mhm.
caught him in the act and
Yep.
we've talked about it. And then like there's still something off about him and he
Yeah.
just won't stop doing this drug. Maybe he overdoses, goes
Mhm.
to the hospital, comes back, still doing drugs.
Yep.
I need help.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
exactly happens? Like how does that phone call go? And then what are
Yeah.
the next steps to it?
Definitely. So yeah, so we get a lot of those calls. Our intake staff, they want to make sure that they're understanding everything. So
Yeah.
our intake process, when we talk to them, we need to know as much as we possibly can so that we
Mm,
can fit the right team. So
mm,
once we go through that process with you, and kind of go through the actual transport part of it, is
yeah.
once everything is signed, we go through the whole process, the intake. The agents will meet with the parents right once we get to the door,
Yeah.
whether that's earlier in the morning, in the afternoon, or something like that.
Mhm.
Once we get there, usually parents want to talk a little bit to the agents
Yeah.
beforehand. So we have a lead agent and a backup agent. If it's a female, there's a female there. If there's a male, it can be two males. But every time if there is a female, we want to make sure there's
Yeah.
a female going in.
Yeah.
When we talk to the parents, we want to make sure that once we get to the room, usually we like when they're in the bedroom a little bit better in the fact of it's a safe environment. If they're in the living room
Mhm.
and they see someone walk into their home, what's the things? They're going to go to fight or flight.
Yeah.
So if they're in the room, we ask that parents walk in first and introduce us.
Mm.
If it's early in the morning, that's the big thing about the goon thing is these random strangers came into my room and startled me and woke
Yeah.
me up.
Yeah.
No one in their right mind should feel that
Mhm.
or go through that. That's
Yeah.
scary. That's creating trauma. So the first face when the student is waking up should be their parents.
Yeah.
From there, the parents are letting them know, hey, this is so and so from West Shield. They're going to be taking you to a facility or the name of the program in whatever state.
Mm.
From there, we ask that they introduce us and that they leave outside the room. And the door is we like the door cracked, but that they're on the other side of the wall.
Mm.
That's when our guys start talking to the student and going, hey, my name is so-and-so from West Shield. We're going to be, taking you to this program
Yeah.
in this state. And we go through that process. We have about an hour built into that, sometimes a little over, because it's not just grab and go. There are companies out there that I will tell you that do that. That is unacceptable. And those are the people I'm trying to put out of business because they're creating trauma for these kids and it's bad for the industry.
Yeah.
So there's that part of it. From there, we're talking to the student going, this is what's going to happen. What's the number one thing that they're going to ask? How long am I going to be there?
Yeah.
And what we tell them, we do not lie. We tell them that depends on how everything goes right now today. And we can talk to the program about that. But they will better know that.
Yeah.
So how everything goes today is going smoothly and we get you to that program and then you can talk to them about that.
Yeah. So what's the law behind this? Because it's it's not like you could just go there and take the kid and be like,
definitely,
your parents said we could take you. Like,
yeah.
But what if the kid denies to go with you? Like, what does that look like? And
100%.
I'm imagining there's a lot of like, oh, I'm not going. I'm going to fight this. I'm going to flip out. I'm going to cause a scene. So how do you deal with that?
Yeah. So we want to know in the intake ahead of time from multiple different people. We would love to get an intake from the parents, from other people that have been around the student, whether it's a teacher that they're really close with, someone else, an aunt and uncle, so we know what we're walking into.
Yep.
We have that quite a bit. Our percentage last year in 2024 was a 3% chance of having to use mechanical restraints. So in that instance, if the child or student becomes a danger to themselves or others, then they have to be restrained. That is with mechanical restraints.
Yeah.
There are companies that don't use mechanical restraints, which is fine. Feel free to do that. And that's their prerogative. We can go down that path at a different day. But yeah, we do have students like that. But what's interesting is when you go through the intake process and you learn about this child, usually they don't have a lot of stuff. This is the majority. When another person comes into that picture, they know how to push their parents' buttons. They know what to say. They know how to get around it, everything like that. That's
They've
why
been
we
manipulating their whole lives probably.
100%. So that's why when we've had it to where parents come back into the room, that is the worst situation. Because why are we there? Then the parent and the student start arguing with each other. It becomes a disaster. We've been doing this for over 30 years now.
Yeah.
We know. We are the professionals in doing this. So that's where we have the parents leave the room. We usually, when we're talking to the student, we ask them, hey, can you just, stay seated where they're at, whether that's on a couch, a bed, or anything like that.
Yeah.
Also, one thing I want to make sure is we want to make sure that they have some sort of clothes on, obviously, because, that's part of the intake process.
Sure.
And that's why we have females on female cases. And that's why parents go in first so they can make sure and say, hey, you guys can come in. If they're not dressed, that is not something we want to go into and figure that part out. So, when we do, hey, why is this happening? I'll start going to school. That's the number one thing. I'll go back to school.
Right. Yeah.
You have not gone to school for 6 months. You've gone through this process and everything like that. So and once we go from there, it's such a switch of when you're talking to them and you're on their level and you're going through the process of where you're going. A lot of our guys know a lot about the programs.
Yeah.
A lot of the programs have equine. They have dogs on campus, which is just an amazing thing. And the kids, when they start to have a purpose and they know, hey, I'm getting out of this, they're addicted to their phones. They're online every day. They're not doing outdoor things.
Sure.
And now they're going to these programs that have equine therapy, like all these different kinds of things that are best for all these different students. That's what they need.
Yeah.
We need to go back to that. We need to get away from screens. We need to start going that path. So anyways, but yeah, so in that instance, from there, once we start talking to them, 99% of the chance they just go straight to the car and we get moving from there on. Certain chances we want to let them talk to their parents, but you can tell by the intake, they're probably going to be pissed off at their parents.
Oh, for sure.
In that situation. But guess what? I would rather that student is pissed at us.
Yeah.
Because we're there for this one-time transport. They don't want to feel betrayed by their parents. They want to get to this program, start getting the help that they need.
Right.
And then move on that process. And then we're out of the process. So that's kind of the main thing. And on the legality thing, we have a one-page document parents sign that says, hey, West Shield is allowed to do this transport. Parents can back out at any time. Okay. We tell them that. We do free consultations to talk about transport, to talk about, how this is all going to work.
Right.
But that's pretty much it. For a parent, it's going to be a one-page document that, legally that we're allowed to do this. It's not like this weird thing where we can go and pick them up at any time.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like that. It's, hey, if the parent backs out of this, we have that quite often. And yeah, it's fine. It's not a big deal. So, but on the other note, we just had a parent that had us wait outside of their house as a backup plan. The parent told the student, went through everything. The team was down about a couple houses in the car. And what they said is they were talking to their child and said, hey, can we need to go to this program and everything like that? The student said, no, I'm not going. He said, okay, well, if you're not going to go, there is a team that's outside that's going to be transporting you. And I don't necessarily like that. It's a very rare occurrence, but the student went with the parent and went through. So that's great. We want parents to be able to transport their students and their children every day of the week. If we can help you do it yourself, fantastic. And even on free consultations, like that's what we want. So we're the last call. We understand you don't want to make this call, but that's why we're here, just to help.
Nice.
Yeah.
Last question inside this topic, and then we're gonna move on to like how this even started in the first place. And I know you're the new owner; it was your dad's before, and we'll get into that. Yeah. What is, like, in simple terms, like what is the mission of WSAS?
Yeah, I think the mission is to have therapeutic transport, to respectfully transport these students to get the help that they need. There is an issue of why when we are called is. We want to make sure that all of our guys are trained in verbal judo, crisis intervention, and all of that. So we want to make sure that students feel dignity while they're being transported, that they feel safe, and that they're getting to the placement in a safe and ready mindset to actually accept the program. There's a reason why we're being called. We need to make sure that we're executing on that, and to make sure they're there safely. So one of the newest features that we just offered a couple months ago, which is, this is going to be a brain thing of like, why didn't this happen sooner, is GPS tracking. You can GPS track your packages getting to your door, but parents can't see where you're at. So we offer that to parents now, is that, your students can be with us. You can check your phone at any time and see where they're at along the way.
That's good.
So that's a new thing for us. And parents are like, this is amazing. Thank you so much. Because you're thinking as a parent, some guys just picked up your child and are taking them across state lines, and you're sitting there and you're going, even before the transport happens and then after, they're sitting in the most stressful situation. We're transporting the most valuable thing on this planet is your children.
Of course.
So, and me as a dad, I understand that. So that's a big thing of making sure that we're doing the right things and making sure that the companies that are doing the bad things aren't doing them.
So, I love it, man.
Yeah.
So how did this like come to be? Your dad started this how long ago, and like why did you want to do that in the first place?
Yeah. So in 1981, West Shield Investigation, so WSI was founded. So my dad, as a private investigator, he would locate runaways. He was helping in child sex trafficking to find people that are doing that and bring them to justice. A lot of these programs were opening up for students that needed special needs and special help. So they would run away from these programs. Then they would call my dad to locate them. They would locate them and then bring them back to the program. And my dad was like, well, there's no one really doing this. And so he started doing transports. And then in 94, it split off to its own thing, which is West Shield Adolescent Services. So it had to be split for his investigation and stuff like that, his investigation license. And it started this whole new industry, I would say, that's doing this. And that's why we are the longest standing transport company that does this.
Oh, wow.
And so there are a lot of other companies that do this. There's when we last checked a couple months ago, there was 32 in the United States that are doing this all over. What's interesting is we started something called AMATS. AMATS is the Association of Mediation of Therapeutic of Transport Services. That is a combination of companies that do what we do to make sure that we're setting the standards so high that to where if you're not going to those standards, you shouldn't be doing this. It's insurance, training, and reporting. Back in the day, so for instance, this is kind of a horror story. A couple years ago, there was a student there's a video circulating online of this girl being ripped out of her house through a garage from a transport company in Santa Cruz, California.
Crazy.
How is that legal?
Right.
Those guys were based out of New Jersey. And I'm We're based out of California. And the city actually made to where forced transport cannot be allowed, which is you have someone that came in and did it the wrong way and caused extreme trauma to this girl. I don't know where she went.
Yeah. It's almost like kidnapping.
Literally. So those are the ones where that is what I think about constantly, of like the parents that were taken advantage of by this company that just said, yeah, this is what we do. When they had no idea what the right company is to go with.
Right.
And that's why AMATS was formed. Is I'm not saying I'm the best company. I'm saying AMATS is a combination of 7 companies that I know for the highest standard, because we have an executive director that checks all of our trainings, all of our insurances, everything. So it's not just some company that pops up and it's 2 guys or a guy and a girl that start transporting kids. And they say, hey, I'll do this for you. That's not okay because you don't have the proper training.
Yeah. So AMATS and WSAS, like how do they intertwine?
Yeah. So AMATS is it's me and 7 other companies. I'm a founding member.
Okay.
We came together.
So you own that as well.
So we don't own it. It's a separate company, and we all pay an executive director who checks all of our stuff. So he's his own entity, which is good. So it's not like I'm checking my competition, because we are competition at the end of the day.
Right.
But if I know that their training is being checked, their insurance is high enough, and they're following the proper protocols.
Right.
If a family needs a transport and I don't have the staff to do it,
right,
I will recommend 2 AMATs and they can choose between the other.
Okay. So it's a bunch of organizations that came together, and you have protocols, you have morals, you have values, and they're all the same.
Yes. And what's nice is if there is a student that has a bad transport, they can go to AMATs and write and put a review or put in a request. The executive director will put together a team and investigate what happened. Were they doing things wrong? If they do the wrong thing or they're doing something against protocol, they get kicked out of AMATs, which is not cheap to be in, but it's because we're all spending money on this executive director to make sure that we're all doing the right practices. So it's holding that higher standard, not just some random person that says, I can transport your student. I'm a retired police officer. I can take your kid. Sure. That's not okay.
And what kind of man was your dad? Like growing up, like what was he like?
Yeah. So my dad, he's nothing could get by him when I was a kid. I'll go back to middle school. There was something happened on the playground to say, and they were going to have another fight to say, down the street of the McDonald's. So me and a couple friends, all of us, everyone was going to McDonald's after because it was going to be crazy. And we're walking there, and I was like, hey, and my dad's like, hey, I'm going to come pick you up. I was like, no, I'm going to walk with my buddies. I'll be home, in a little bit. I'm walking down the street. I see my dad's car pull up. And I'm like, why are they pulling up? That doesn't make any sense. And he goes, hey, you need to get in the car. And I was like, what the heck? I was like, no, I'm going to go to McDonald's. He said, no, you're going to get in the car. And I was like, okay. I get in the car, and he tells my buddies, hey, you guys should probably go home. I wouldn't go to McDonald's. And I was like, what in the world? And I get in the car, and he goes, what were you going to go do at McDonald's? And I was like, oh, just going to go hang out with some friends. Like, I don't know what you're, And he's like, are you going to go see a fight? And I was like, yes. And so I was like, how did you know that? Like, I was just at school 2 hours ago. Like, you have no idea. And so he's like, I have my connections, we're good. And so it was just interesting of a great father, seeing what he does and what he did is just trying to help as many families as he possibly could. I've seen things. I just a lot of the families that we've helped, and it's been good. And you've seen things where families don't make the right decision. And let's say they don't go with us and they have a bad situation with a transport or just in situations. It's really sad. But my dad's heart for this has just been the main thing of helping as many students as he can and children is his main goal. And that's why with the child trafficking stuff with West Shield Investigations to now this, that's where his heart's at. And that's what I noticed. And I did go and work other places. I did do a lot of other things, and it didn't fulfill me like how this fulfills me. So, yeah.
Why do you think that was so important to him?
I've asked him that question, and I was like, you could do so many other things. Like, why this? And he goes, the things that I've seen just as an investigator and families that I've just witnessed what they've gone through, there needs to be an option. And this is the option of students need help. What's interesting is you walk into a lot of these homes that we do transports in, and the parents are doing drugs with their kids. And it blows my mind. And I'm like, and that's why, a lot of the school districts step in. That's why I say students is it's sad that you see these parents doing drugs with their kids, and then their kids are being sent away. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense to me, but at least they're getting out of that household. So, yeah.
Did your dad grow up in a household where like that happened? Did he experience something and be like, oh, I experienced this, now I want to change this?
I don't think so. I know that when growing up as a kid, he loved private investigation was just such a big thing to him. Is he mentored under another private investigator, and just seeing like the things that he would see, he would do surveillance for workers' comp. He was doing a lot of different things. And the locates of runaway children was kind of the one thing that pulled him into it. And then that's when he just got sucked into this world of kids and trafficking and all these different things. And that's why it's like, I know when we do a good transport, that is the best feeling. And I just wanted to say this is, we were working with a parent, and she was so distraught. She was like, we can't do this. It's so scary. And my, one of the girls in the office, she was on the phone with her for a couple hours on and off. Wow. She's like, I can't do it. And talking to certain parents, and I'm like, just, like no action is an action. So if you're going to do nothing, there are consequences. And so we talked about it, and they're like, can you make sure the people don't come and they're these big scary guys? Yeah. Can you make sure that they don't wear this? And I was like, they need to wear their actual uniform. Like that's company policy. They end up doing the transport. It was local in California. And the mom, and I'm quoting this exactly how she said it, is she said about our field supervisor, he is an angel sent by God to do this kind of work. That to me is so refreshing in the fact of like, I see so much negativity about transport online. And it's like, the reason why we do that is that exact reason. The parent was so stressed out. The student was just moved to he didn't do very well at that program. He went to a different program and stuff like that. She's like, he needs to be on that. I said, 100%. He already knows the people. That's fantastic. They built a rapport. That's amazing. And a lot of our guys, it's not an expectation at the company is a lot of the kids like to give our guys hugs at the end. And a lot of our guys go, that's why I do what I do. And they love it. And I'm like, and obviously not every student is going to give you a hug at the end. Sure. So yeah. So anyways, sorry, I went on a tangent there.
No, that's really good. Yeah. What legacy does your dad want to leave? Yeah.
I think that his legacy and all of that is just, did he help as many children as he could? And he's not doing transports and stuff like that. He's still on the investigation side, but I told him, I said, first of all, when did you take a vacation? He doesn't take vacations. It's insane. So I knew that when I was young. I was like, we would go on a couple vacations, like let's say for Thanksgiving. Yeah. It was like going to the river or something like that. And I'm like, Dad, you don't go to like Hawaii. You don't go to these places. Like, why don't you go on these vacations? He's like, because there's a lot of work that needs to get done. And so it was always built into me as a young age of like, you need to work hard. And if you have a proper mission, like you'll never work a day in your life. So that was huge for me. So that's why when I went to other jobs and I did a lot of different things. I did valet, I did retail, I did just different sales things. I did chiropractic stuff at a chiropractic clinic, and I was like, oh, I'm helping people there. It wasn't the same. Yeah. So came back to the company. I left for a little bit and came back, and that was it. So. Yeah,
I guess like on those vacations, your dad was like, I could be saving kids right now.
That's the biggest thing
right now.
I know.
I could be getting one more, 2 more, 3 more. Yeah. Why am I sitting here?
He's 68 and he's still technically not retired. Yeah. And I'm like, can you please retire? Like, let's do that. He still does a couple marketing things because he's got a lot of friends and stuff in this industry. And so it's interesting. But
so what was it like growing up in that environment? I don't know what you saw. I don't know what your dad like exposed you to, but what was that like?
Yeah. So on the investigation side, I didn't know this at the time, obviously. I was maybe 9 years old, maybe a little younger. And my dad, and he's like, hey, you're going to come with me and stuff. And so we're driving. And I was like, why are we like, it looks like we're following a car. It was kind of weird. And we kept going on and off the freeway and we're following this person. They pull off to this park. And I was like, okay. And my dad goes, hey, go play in the park or whatever. I was like, what the heck? And he looks and he like kind of was like, hey, like, and I was like, there was only me, this other kid, and maybe 2 other kids at the park. And I start playing with this one kid, and my dad's like, yeah, go, I come over, get some water or something, and like send me back. And I'm like talking to this kid, and I didn't realize that guy was, it was more not child trafficking, but he was extremely abusive to his wife and his kid and stuff like that. And my dad was building a case against him. And so I'm like hanging out with this kid and stuff. He's got a couple bumps and bruises and stuff like that. And later on, like this is over a decade later. And I was like, hey, do you remember that case? Like we were tailing this guy. Like it was kind of weird. Like I had no idea. And he's like, yeah, we were building the case against that guy who was beating his kid and his wife. And we wanted to get all the stuff for the investigation for it. And he was helping the wife. So just those kinds of things where I'm like, why do you do this?
Right.
Do something else. Is there something else? But that was his calling, and that's what it's always been.
Yeah, I feel like you got exposed to the evil in the world at a pretty young age.
Yeah.
From all the stories that your dad said and like
Definitely.
his work and like the stress that you saw on him.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people, they don't realize how much evil is in this world.
100%.
Like we were talking about sex trafficking. I think it's $150 billion business, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah.
I mean, look it up on Google. And then I don't know how often this stuff happens, like how often, teens are using drugs and overdosing and suicides and depression and anxiety.
Yeah.
And I don't think people see it at the scale that you have.
Definitely. And what happened after COVID.
Yeah.
And what that did to this next generation of young people is just insane. Of their depression is higher. Like everything is so elevated. And that's what that shutdown did. And how it affected our young people for the next generation is just, we noticed a really big uptick. We didn't really shut down during COVID. It actually ramped things up.
I'm sure. Yeah. How have things changed in this industry over the last, I don't know, 5 years, decade?
Yeah. So like we had to adapt obviously with COVID, but then a lot of our trainings on different situations. So back in the day, this is kind of interesting to look at what our trainings have been throughout since the early 90s is they were doing transports and they had pagers and payphones to like coordinate things. And they didn't have to deal with, and kids having cell phones everywhere. So like when the first thing that a student, the number one thing that they can't take with us on a transport is their phone. Kids are so attached to their phone more than ever.
Yeah.
And so that's a big thing of okay, well, when can I get my phone back? And it really opens your eyes to what are our phones actually doing to us and how much is that affecting us? So sorry, I went on a little tangent.
No, that's a great point because I think it's the number one distractor. And like it probably has more of an impact than like alcohol or, marijuana, all these other drugs. Cause like you're just in your phone. Now you have more access to pornography. You have access to drugs. And now all I got to do is text my drug dealer who'll bring it to me, all these different things. So all this access, all this distraction, it all starts with your phone.
It does.
And we're all guilty of it.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And it's crazy is what is the goal of YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all that? It's your time on your phone. It's your eyes. Yeah. That's all they care about. And is it going to ramp up or down? I think it's just going to ramp up. That's how they make their money. So
100%.
Yeah. And there are programs that are actually specialized for that of like phone addiction, internet addiction, pornography. Like there's a lot of good programs out there that specialize in that. So it's been interesting. Eating disorders, like there's so many different programs that it's hard for a parent when they're in the situation on where do I go? There's a lot of options. So you need to make sure that 1, you get a good education consultant, and 2, you have the right plan set up.
Yeah. Is there any other things that stick out of like how things have changed in the last couple of years?
Yeah, I think just our trainings and making sure that every step of the way we are covering every part. So for instance, when you're in a room with the student and they're going through things, you want to have that compassion, but also you need to make sure that they're not necessarily trying to grab something. For instance, one of the students, they had an inkling that we were coming and they put a knife under their pillow. That is an extremely dangerous situation.
Of course.
So we go through so much different training on where their phone is, what is going to be their situation. We don't want them to get up and grab something and throw something. So the training that we go through now is every month we go through a company-wide training. It's on a Zoom, and our guys are talking about situations that they've been in to make sure that all of our other guys are learning of all these different situations. Yeah. But from the industry, I think just setting the standard and making sure that it's high enough. I don't even know if we can set it that high, to make sure that all these students are being transported safely. But yeah.
Yeah, I think to look at it through this lens is like, what are teens struggling with the most right now? Is it alcohol? I mean, I know we hit distraction. I think that might be number one. Who knows? Yeah. Is there certain drugs that are out there, or like how is partying, alcohol, isolation, all these different things?
Yeah. Yeah. Isolation was the big one right after COVID. We're battling just so much of the marijuana usage, the different like ecstasy and stuff like that that's been out there. We had a student that before we went to transport him, it was a couple days before we were going to go, he was out partying and had a fentanyl overdose and survived. Wow. And it's like if we could have done the transport sooner, obviously would that have happened? You know what I mean? So it's like those are the things that we always try to battle and make sure that we're looking at it of how can we change things? How can we make sure that we're the best to be doing what we're doing?
Yeah. So would you say like drug usage is like through the all-time high with teens right now?
100%.
Yeah. And it normally comes from the parents, I'm assuming.
Definitely. Parents, and they're seeing stuff on TikTok and they're just all over the place. And I'm like, it's hard because like growing up, I grew up with like, I think it was MySpace. So, that kind of stuff, Facebook or whatever, but we didn't have so much activity on our phones. They're looking at these kids, they're talking about all these shows, and so it's unfortunate. So I'm trying to figure out how we can fix that. So,
right.
Yeah.
Now obviously something struck a chord in you. Like your father was doing this, you grew up in it, and he passed on that desire to you to change teens' lives.
Yeah.
Why do you pick up that torch?
I think seeing every day what kids are going through and how can we change that? Me of someone who is someone who I always went to church. I don't think I had a very strong relationship. But I think something changed a couple years ago that I was like, our next generation needs help. They don't have the right I would say outlets, I would say.
Yeah.
They're not outside. They're not doing all these different things of outdoor activities, or they're gaming, or they're doing all this crazy stuff. And I was like, there's something needs to change, and how can I help? To say, when we do a successful transport, it's the best feeling of they're on the right path.
Yeah.
So like, I was like, one of the pictures that we had in our office was a girl walking down two paths. It was one of our logos back in the day. And it's like, to get them on that right path is if I can have some help in that would be fantastic. There are a lot of calls, and I'm not saying that necessarily we're inexpensive, but there's a lot of calls that we get that we've done free transports for certain parents because they do not have the funds to do it. But on the other side of things is partnering with programs that will help ease the financial burden for them.
Yeah.
So that's been a big thing. So like, we've been trying to get insurance to cover us, because it's like we're in this realm of we're not an ambulance.
Yeah.
So insurance will cover that. We'll cover a couple other things, but they don't cover what we do. So we've been really working with insurance of like to help parents in that aspect of like, hey, they need the help, they need to go to a program, but if they can't be transported there and they're not going to go themselves with the family, then what do they do? And that's the thing, is there's a lot of people that want us to be out of business. If that's what you want, what's the alternative? So are you just cutting out this whole group that can't go themselves, that won't go? You're cutting them out? Do you not care about them? That's where I go and encounter that of, if we're not here as transport, what's the alternative? And I have not gotten a good answer of what that is. So, yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah.
What was the moment where you're like, this is what I want to do?
So I was on transports pre-18 years old. So a lot of the programs, when we would go to drop off, they thought I was the student. I was like, nope, I'm a transporter here. They're going,
No way.
And stuff like that. So I've been doing it from a young age. But there was a family down in San Clemente, and the kid I bonded with, I was just doing transport. Like, that's it. Like, nothing else. I was doing a couple of the jobs on the side, and the kid he wasn't doing anything crazy. Yeah, he was ditching some school, but he wasn't addicted to drugs or anything like that. But the parents were worried that he was going to go off the deep end.
Sure.
And so it wasn't anything like nuts. His grades were great. So he was starting to go down this path. And when I was transporting him, I saw like a younger me. And I was like, this is so crazy.
Wow.
And now thinking back at it, I've thought about it throughout the years. And he got to the program. We don't get to pick them up and drop them. We don't get to bring them home. That's very rare because they're ready to go home. They'll fly. Everything's a lot easier.
Sure.
That one, we got to drive him back home, and I got to go on it. He was so grateful. And I was like, this is what it feels like. This is that feeling that where I chase that in the fact of when you know that you did a good job, they got the help they needed, they're on track. That's fantastic. That if I could create that small little path of just that redirection, that's all that matters to me. That's why I'm on the phone with families and stuff like that. My wife knows I'm on calls with families. I'm trying to help out, and I'm like,
yeah,
I want to help you. Let's just make this slight little change of course. That's all that I try to do, and that's what I feel like I'm more called to do. So
that's so good.
Yeah.
How does that tie with your faith?
Yeah. So, my wife and I, my wife had a lot of health issues. We went to a lot of doctors to figure out what was wrong. We couldn't figure it out. It was right after we got married, and then all of a sudden her health changed. And so we were like, what's going on and stuff like that. And our friends invited us to a church in Irvine. It was a Harvest with Greg Laurie. And we're like, yeah, it's April. It was Easter. And we're like, all right, let's go check it out. Let's see what this is. And we haven't gone to church like as a couple, or even before that. I went to church when my dad would go with me, or he'd bring us when I was a kid. And so we start going. And my wife's like, wow, like I really like this guy. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm really like, this is really great. We start going and stuff like that. We end up getting pregnant. We end up getting baptized while my wife was pregnant. And crazy stuff. Just everything was like aligning. It was just so interesting how things started to align. And I go to the gym, like just a regular morning, go to the gym. And this is, I think, so my dad's birthday's in June. And so we're like, hey, we're going to tell him in June. So he's going to come over. It's going to be fantastic. This is the one thing he's always wanted. And so we're like, wow, this is going to be great. And I think it was May. And I go to the gym and I go to the squat rack and I set my water down and my phone vibrates. And I'm like, okay. And I look at my phone and it's my dad's girlfriend. And she says, I don't want you to freak out, but your dad had a heart attack.
Oh, wow.
And he's in the hospital. And I go, and I like my brain, I remember freezing and going, is this real? Like, did this just happen? And I look at my phone and I grab my stuff, like just, and when I think about it past, I was just like instant numb. And I get in my car, drive home. I go upstairs, go to my wife and I give her my phone. I said, can you read this, please? Because my brain couldn't comprehend it.
Wow.
And I go and she goes, and she reads it aloud. And I literally was like, oh my gosh. And I walk out of the room, I go to the hallway, burst out crying, and just prayed the hardest I've ever prayed in my entire life.
Oh, wow.
I was like, please, this is what my dad needs to meet his grandchild. This is what he's wanted his whole life. And I was like, just please just keep him here with us. That's all I ask. That day forward, we go to the hospital, see him. And I was like, should I tell him? Do I tell him that he has a grandchild coming? And I was like, if you want to, you can, like, go for it. Like, that's fine. And I was like, no, I think we're going to be okay. Go back. He ends up getting surgery and he thankfully now he's like, I feel great. So everything went great. Fantastic.
Yeah.
And we ended up telling him a month later on his birthday, he was ecstatic and everything like that. And I think from that day forward, it was just this different, like life altering shift of like, wow, this is what I need to do. You need to be a godly man. You need to actually read your Bible and not just watch YouTube videos and like go to church, but like do the right things. But actually, and when we got baptized and like living that Christ-like life. So from that day forward, like things have completely changed. My family, we end up moving here to Franklin, and it was crazy. Yep. Yeah.
Was your dad, I know you said you went to church, but was he like, did he talk about Jesus a lot and you just didn't like quite accept it? You kind of did.
Yeah. So that was the interesting part. We just had a conversation about this is I was like, hey, you would bring us to church, and we did not want to go. We went to I think it was the 8 a.m. service on Sundays. And I'm like, we had to be up way early, get ready. And actually, to kind of backtrack a little bit, I went to public school my whole life until my junior year. In my senior year, I got switched to private school because I was not doing great things.
Got it. So
ended up switching and was going to the private school that we were going to church at. It was a church and a private school. And so, and this is pre that. So we're going to church, and I was just like, Dad, like, come on, like, why do we go here? Like that kind of stuff. It's actually funny because at that same gym that happened, the pastor of that church goes to that same gym. So I would see him there all the time. And so he would talk about Jesus, but it wasn't reminiscing. What's funny is I used to, in woodshop, this is my junior year, or sophomore year, sorry. So a couple years before that, I made a little wooden cross in woodshop, and I wore it every day.
Oh, interesting.
And it was so interesting that I was like, I'm wearing this, but I don't really understand what it means. And it just started from that point. It kind of like changed a little bit. And then I stopped wearing it, and just like, but I never actually sat down and read the Bible till actually I'm halfway through. I just started into the New Testament recently. But since the heart attack, it's been just a faith-driven, just everything.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And making sure that I'm a good father and a godly man to show that to my child, to my daughter. So.
And does your faith go hand in hand with like what you do with WSAS?
Yeah. So that was a big thing, was kind of bringing that into the company a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because we have to ride that line of like, we deal with a lot of government agencies and you have to kind of separate it, but it's been recent, and it was a couple years back, but of bringing that into the company. Like we don't necessarily talk about it to the student because we have a lot of things that we can't necessarily say, but it's been interesting to kind of put God first into the business. And that's been just a whole different thing. And that's where I have a lot of friends that I talk about faith with, and they're like, oh, you're just, you're into this whole thing. You're a different person now and stuff like that. And I'm like, why is that a problem?
Yeah.
Like, and they're like, well, you're giving this up, you're giving that up, and all that kind of stuff. And I've never had a drinking problem, but me and my wife made a thing a couple years ago before my daughter. We said, we're just going to not drink. Like, we don't want to. So it's been a couple years now. But they're like, yeah, can you come drink with us? And I'm like, it doesn't fulfill me. And I'm not going to do anything that doesn't fulfill me. So.
Right. Cause like all these things, they're world money, drinking, you know, it's just worldly things. Like, and it stays here.
Yep.
But like, what do you bring up with you? Another soul. That's the only thing you can bring, another soul with you to heaven. That's it.
Exactly.
And like, I think your mission and your purpose, what you're doing with WSAS is guiding people to heaven.
Exactly.
In some cases.
Yeah.
Maybe
100%.
not all, but like it's definitely helping.
Definitely. And that's what I feel. And that's what I pray about often, is like, if we can make that little impact in that student's life,
right?
Just that little bit. That's all I care about.
Yeah.
If we can, great. And that's been the biggest shift, I would say. But it's good stuff.
Yeah, because you're pushing them towards, heavenly things, and you're getting them away from worldly things. The drugs, the distractions, all of it. And you're I don't know if you're sending them to Christian programs per se.
Sometimes yes, sometimes.
But you're pushing them towards things that are actually going to matter. Getting them out in nature, getting them talking to people, removing all the distractions. And then when you do that, a lot of times God comes into play.
100%. And that's what I pray on, is like, are we doing God's work? And that's what we should be doing. And that's why there are certain programs that aren't like that, which is it's totally fine. But to see that if they're just out in the wilderness and seeing God's creation, that is huge
for sure.
So so that's pretty much So,
Do you have any like stories that you want to share that like really hit your heart a lot? I know you already shared that one.
Yeah.
But that just really bring like this purpose alive, and like why you do what you do.
Yeah. There's there's a couple ones that come to mind that uh, there was a family that sorry, there's a single mom, and she called us. She's like, "What do we do? How does this work? I don't have the money to do this." Like, and I'm like, "I will help any way I possibly can." But I told her, I was like, "You're worried about me as the transport. Programs are expensive. You're going to pay out of your pocket. Like, it's a couple grand a month." And we were on and off the phone, man, for I would say 6 to 8 months. And she's like, "I can't do it. Like, I don't have the funds." And I was like, "Look, don't worry about me. We're going to figure it out."
Yeah.
And her son was just going down a path of like, he was into gangs. He was doing drugs. He was out late. She wouldn't see him for a couple of days. And she's like, I don't know what to do. Like, I have no one to help me. And when I say the family, like, I think the aunt, she was getting involved a little bit, but couldn't do too much. And we were trying to figure out, okay, well, we found a program for him, but with an education consultant. It was a great kind of setup to where he was going to go to this program. It was only for a month. That's all they could afford. 1 month of treatment. And so we were able to help on transport. Everything goes smoothly. He gets to the program.
Yeah.
He gets to the program, and it was not the right fit. So he ran away from the program, which is hard because in the state of California, none of them are lockdown facilities. And so we were in California. If you go out of state, like Utah, they're lockdown facilities. Like, you can't walk out the front door. So that's kind of crazy.
Got it.
So we go to the program. He's there. He was there for, I think it was like a week and a half. And I'm like, all right, great. This is fantastic. It's 8 months in the working. The mom calls me and she goes, "He ran away." I was like, oh, okay. We end up utilizing our investigation services on the other side, because that's our sister company still. We end up locating him.
Yeah.
I have never seen someone so strung out on drugs before. I couldn't even tell you what he was on. It was like between of like ecstasy, meth, like it was crazy. The team found him. I was the third that went to go out just to like kind of help everything go through. And he was at his friend's house, and the parents didn't care. The parents in that household had drugs everywhere. We walk in the door, and they let us in, which was nice.
Oh, wow.
We didn't have law enforcement. We called law enforcement. They ended up showing up a couple minutes after us. There's a bong on the kitchen table. There's cocaine on the table. And I'm like, this is disgusting. This is the kind of life that these other parents that I didn't even know, they're having this drug-induced thing with their kids and their kid's friend. It's insane. And they let the kids stay there for 2 nights without even telling the mom. What kind of people are these? Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it blew my mind. And I went, wow, this is the society we have. But there is the light. And he ended up going with us very easily. We ended up taking him to a detox center. He got detoxed for about a week and a half, almost 2 weeks. Went with us. Everything was really smoothly. Went out of state, and everything went completely great. Wow. He went to the program, was there for 2 years. And that's pretty much the end of what I know. His mom texted me. This was actually recent, like I would say about 4 to 5 months ago, and just said, "I'm so grateful for everything that you did and everything." And I was like, I showed my wife, and like I was starting to tear up, and I was like, "This is why we do what we do. This is it." And so it was really cool to see.
Yeah, I mean, because you say you're just a transport organization, but to me, it's so much more than that. Thank you. You're the first responder on the phone, right?
Yeah.
And you're dealing with all the emotions, the stories, all the emotional bandwidth.
Yeah.
You're tracking people down. There's like so much more to it than just transport.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there anything else? Like, are we missing anything?
No, that's pretty much it. We try to do what we can. A lot of people, because if we start recommending programs, we get into a different organization, and a lot of people get upset with that. But I think that if we keep doing what we're doing, the goal is to hit 20,000 students helped. We're right now just over 16,000. So it's kind of crazy that since a little before 1994, that's what that number is. So it's kind of crazy when you start adding it up on how many we were doing a year and stuff like that. It's pretty crazy. So my goal is to hit 20,000 in the next couple of years.
So what's the emotional toll that it takes on you? Because
Yeah.
one, I bet there's failed scenarios where it's
Mhm.
like I put so much effort into this and now
Mhm.
he's back doing exactly what he was doing and like I failed,
Yep.
right? You take on that burden.
Oh yeah.
Then there's a lot of success stories, and then there's
Mhm.
a bunch of emotions. Then you
Yeah.
know, go into the place and like some crazy crisis happens. That stuff happens too.
Yeah.
So how do you regulate all that?
So we have a lot of talks with our intake staff.
Yeah.
Because they're not like a 911 dispatcher. They're
Mm,
not that. But they hear the craziest stories. And so we had a couple one of the girls she's worked for us for 19 years. She's seen a lot and she's heard a lot.
mm,
And we do touch base on that of like, how are you doing? Because
yeah.
there are certain calls that they get that where they're like, I just take a day to like relax because they hear just the worst of the worst.
Yeah.
And so that is a big thing where we've talked about this with my wife and I'm like, hey, we need to like decompress and make sure like I don't want to bring a lot of the horror stories that I hear to her because that would not be an ideal thing, not bringing your
Mhm.
work home kind of
Mhm.
situation,
Mhm.
even though you kind of still wear it, but you
Yeah.
don't, yeah, I don't want to like give too much of it, but that is a big toll for a lot of the teams
Yeah.
where they're out there and they're hearing these just intense stories and they're trying to make sure that they're doing the right thing and stuff like that. So yeah, there is a pretty good toll on the guys that are out in the field. But we do have guys that have been with us for a lot of years that have been doing this and they feel calling to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but there is a toll. I will say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you take all that weight off, especially when like something fails and like you blame
Yeah.
yourself, but like if you keep doing that, you're just gonna carry more and more weight into life. Like how do you take it off?
What's interesting is when I started in the company and I was going through a lot of mental necessarily going on the fact of I was hearing a lot of the stories. I was going through a lot of it to where I was like, I need to go to the doctor. I need like some sort of like medication of like some sort of like not like kind of like an antidepressant. So I went. That lasted about a month. And I was like, this world is just so hard.
Yeah.
And so it's so different in the fact of being my like walking in my faith is it's almost like it doesn't affect me as much because I feel like we're driven.
Yeah.
Now. It's not like I'm absorbing all of it.
Yeah.
A lot of it I take it, but it's not like I don't know, it doesn't sink now, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. I mean, when you have that greater power, now you can take that and you can leave it at the cross.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Prayer
you
for
have
sure.
you have a father to run to. You have
Yeah.
someone that can fill you with peace. You have someone that you can pray prayers to and you can fulfill them. All those things.
Exactly. And prayer has been such a big thing now for us and the praying as a family. My daughter's almost 2.
Yeah.
Everywhere we walk, she stops and she goes, pray. And she literally sits down and puts her head down. And sometimes the eyes are open, but she just like puts her head down and she's like, pray. She wants all of us to sit with her and pray.
No way.
And it's such such an amazing feeling of
Wow.
this is what God intended was, you know, I firmly believe that when a baby's born, that's the face of God. That you look at that and you go, this is the most beautiful creation. It's just insane. When my daughter was born, I was like, this is the best thing. Like this is the meaning of life.
Wow.
It's so crazy. And I've chased a lot of other things of cars and stuff like that. And it's like, that's not it. It's just a means to an end. And it's so crazy that I talk to my buddies and I'm like, you guys are chasing the new car. You're chasing this. It's not what it's about.
Yeah.
It's literally have that relationship with Jesus and your life will change.
Yeah.
So, and they're just so close. It's something that is like a side project where I'm like, I want to make sure a lot of my friends, like they do it. You know what I mean? So
sure. Yeah. I mean, what really fills your soul, right? Purpose.
Yeah.
Serving Jesus.
Yep.
But people don't really get that. But I believe that we all have God-given gifts.
Definitely.
And when you put your faith in Jesus, like he's going to show you what your gift is. And then you go out and you cast that gift on the other people. You help people with that gift. Definitely. And that's what really fills your soul up.
Oh yeah. And that's why, God's given you talents, given these people. And I was just listening to the sermon yesterday, and it was about the fig tree. And or for instance, the wise men or the servants that he gave them, I'm gonna butcher this a little bit. He gave them their it was the shekels or something like that. And then one of them, the first servant made it 5. He made 5 more.
Right.
And then the one did 2, and then one just buried it.
Right.
And then brought it back. I was like, here. And it's like, if you're just going to bury your talents and then at the end of your life go, hey, this is my life. And it's like, you have God-given talents and you should be, figuring out what they are and utilizing it. So that's why that was yesterday. So that's at the top of my brain right now.
Good.
So, yeah.
So good. So given, this calling, this purpose, this mission, where do you see WSAS going in the future?
Yeah. I think expanding, that's what we're trying to do right now is we're mostly on the West Coast. Everyone goes West Shield, West Coast. Even though we do travel all over the US, we travel internationally. We've done transports in Singapore, like we've been all over. But I think kind of expanding more to the East Coast and making sure that, there's good coverage out there for transport. So like I do know a lot of transport companies out there, a lot that go in and go out as fast as they can. They go in, they get the contract from the parent, they go to the house, they go in and they try to grab the student and get out as fast as they can. Those are the ones that drive me up a wall. Cause I'm like,
yeah, I know you said something about putting others like out of business in a sense because they're doing it the wrong way and they're causing trauma and all this crisis and everything like that.
Definitely.
How does that work?
Yeah, so there's a lot of transport companies around 32 to 33 in the US. The horror stories that I've listened to a lot of students that have been transported and it's been horrible. And then we come for a second time and then they tell us about it. And I'm like, I'm so sorry that you've gone through that. And it's like these companies that pop up, they hear that you can do transport, they hire a couple people, they go out, they go into the room, they grab the kid and they go as fast as they can. And I'm like, I've talked to a couple owners of transport companies that do that and they're doing it for money. That's disgusting. So there's a couple reasons of where I'm like, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that they aren't operating anymore.
Yeah.
And for instance, we pushed the bill with AMATs in the state of Utah to make sure and to set the standard for transport in the city of Utah. So you have to be registered with the state and everything like that. That kind of, Paris Hilton, she was transported and she went to a program. So she has a whole YouTube thing on that. And she was pushing that also. So there was a lot of, we helped push that bill through, but also there's no regulations in a lot of states to do this. A lot of different states are now catching on and we're really trying to help push that of like, make sure that you have this licensure, you have to do this. So it's setting the standard. So that's what we're really pushing.
So there's even more to like, just like they call you, you have to deal with it, tracking them. Now you have to like try to change some of the laws in the states.
Exactly. So it's a big undertaking. It was the first time I've ever been into a government building. For like the Capitol. And I was like, wow, this is happening. So that's what we're really trying to push.
And then I imagine they're trying to put you out of business too.
100%. And that's the thing is we invited all those transport companies to be a part of AMATs. Why wouldn't you join? Why wouldn't you be okay with a third entity? Because they knew the rules of like, there's an executive director that doesn't work for us. Like we pay him, all of us pay, but he gets to look through everything. None of us get to see it.
Yeah.
So why aren't you willing to open up your doors to make sure that your training is correct, your licensure and your insurance is high enough to cover this? Usually it's not. So
what do you think the reason is? Just money?
It's money. They want to hide it. They don't want to be like, hey, they don't want to be like, oh, we didn't get approved because we don't have this height of anything. So the difference is though, is what we're trying to do is we're trying to put through training that we will release for free so that other companies will be able to understand of this. If you're going to do this, you need to make sure that 1, you can be licensed, and 2, you have all that. And the third thing that we're trying to do is set up an accreditation. If we can make ourselves an accreditation for transport, that's huge because then insurances and stuff like that will take us seriously. So, yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like they don't want to take ownership of like all the stuff that gone wrong too.
Yeah,
because like there could be like lawsuits, laws, and if they're under something, now it's like, oh, now we have all these other problems now, and now we're losing out on this money.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
And to push the bill, we were lobbying. I have never done that before.
Yeah,
we were having to push through our thing of like, we need to set that standard. And Utah is ground zero for transport. It's ground zero for the programs. That's the biggest state for it.
Right.
So that's why it's really pushed over there. But there are a lot of companies that do good work, especially part of AMATs. And And that's the thing is if I can't help the family, and let's say that there was someone closer in AMATS that was like someone a little bit closer to Texas, there's a company there that's a part of AMATS that can make it more cost effective for the family. That at the end of the day, it's not about the money, it's about the mission. That's it.
So if someone's like having trouble with their kid, whatever teen, why should they trust you over all the other companies? I know you said like AMAX and all that stuff, but I'm sure there's like bad reviews out there.
Definitely.
You go on Google, you'll probably see this, that, and the third. Why you?
I think us because of what we take every single day and how mission driven we are. Our staff that you first talk to, they have such a compassion for everything that you're going through. They've talked to hundreds of families. They know how to help you. They're going to get as much information and help guide you, in a position to go, hey, we can help in this aspect and kind of go through that. But it's, if we can help any way we possibly can in directing you into the right direction, fantastic. If we can't, we actually haven't come across that yet. And the fact of it's only when the parents don't necessarily want to do anything on that front. But I know that from our training to the people that we bring on, they're there for the right reason. Yeah. We've had people come and they had the best resumes they could possibly have for this type of work. And they were money driven. And I went, they're not the right fit. And everyone's like, why don't you do this for free? We can't. It doesn't work that way. With how much training we have to spend on every single year, it's thousands and thousands of dollars. So that's one thing someone asked. They're like, why don't you do this for free? And I was like, we're not a charity. Like no one is funding us to necessarily do that. But I want to make sure that if you are paying for a service, you need to be going for the highest level service that has the best training and the best all around. Yeah.
So let's talk about the training. Like what kind of training do your employees go through?
Yeah. So they go through crisis intervention training, verbal judo, a lot of on the job training that we have that West Shield has actually made a training. So we've taken thousands of transports that's put together and we've talked about, and we put it on we have a whole database now of all of our trainings that we put together all into one place. So when you come on with West Shield, there's a lot of hours of training to go through because we want to make sure that every situation we've talked about it, we've gone through it. How do we kind of go through that process? Here's an interesting one. When just sitting in the car, when you're on a transport, we have a specific way that we sit. We have a specific way that we walk in the airports everywhere. Everything is possibly covered. So for instance, when you're sitting in the car, it's you have an agent driving and you have an agent right behind and the student is in the right side of you. If there is a third row, then we want the student to necessarily be in the third row because there's so many things that can happen on a transport. It's insane. So we've covered every single basis and we've been doing it the longest. So that's why it's like retraining and going through all of this has been the biggest thing. That's why I said, when I came on, I was like, we need to create a West Shield training. This is so much value to all of our other guys that it's like, so we have one of our guys, he hit his 525th transport. That's a lot of travel. Yeah. That's a lot of kids. So it was interesting that he's been on that much, but the fact that we can use his training and give that to all of our other guys was huge. So yeah. And our trainings on mechanical restraints is top tier. Yeah. Matt, he trains, works with different law enforcement agencies to train their people in handcuffing and mechanical restraints.
Is there like self-defense in it as well?
Yeah, we have different kind of holds and stuff like that we want to make sure that if a student tries to harm themselves or others, then we have different holds that we want to work with. So that was a big one, is to make sure of, is it a safe hold for them? We had a school district that they were like, we don't want you to go in with mechanical restraints. And when you looked at this intake, the student had battery charges, assault on an officer, like it was really bad. Yeah. And you want us to go in there and just, if he tries to harm us, like bear hug him? Is that what you want? So it was insane. And we didn't end up taking that case. But there are things to where we need to make sure that everyone is protected. Obviously, we need the child to be protected. We need our guys to come home. They have families and everything like that. And that's the thing for parents is when we are assigning the team for your student, we're making sure that their likes, dislikes, and everything are in alignment, and also future things they want to do. Like, for instance, if there's a student that wants to go to the military, we have guys that retire military. They want to be a police officer, a therapist. There's so many different things, firefighters, EMTs.
Yeah.
So we put that together, and we also want to make sure that they're going to bond over that and talk about future goals.
Why do you keep going? Like, what keeps you going?
I think just if we're making that impact on these students' lives, that's the best possible thing that we can keep going with. Is like when I look and we're going through and talking to these parents, and we had a successful transport, it's like one more student that is on the right path. That's it. And I go, cool. And the team and I, we talk about it is, and I like I said, when a student gives one of the at the end of the transport a hug, and they say, "Can you take me home?"
So good.
That's where the guys literally, when we all talk about it, we have debriefs and stuff, and they're like, and obviously you have harder cases, like, you know, the ones where it's not, you don't get the hug and it's not expected, but and you're just like, like I wish I could have made that big of impact. And we've had kids reach back out to our office that have said, "Hey, can I get in touch with so-and-so?" And that's really cool. You know, we want to make sure that it's a good fit. And it's not anything where they're like, I'm mad at you, but it's like, it's a good thing to where it's like, they're like, like, how are they doing and stuff. And we make sure that our guys aren't in any contact after the fact. They have to go through the office and the right channels, but we've had parents reach out, students reach out. And that's the best part.
So say if a parent is listening to this and maybe their child is going through one of the things that we're talking about, what's one message that you have for them?
I have for them is, do your research, figure out and kind of learn a little bit. It's a lot to take in at first, but definitely if you want to hop on a call, I'm available 24/7 to make sure, hey, if you have questions, I will answer them. That's the thing is like we will help as much as we possibly can. We'll direct you in the way that you need to go, because once you're going into this to the start, you're going, where do I start? Who do I talk to? How do I do this? Where does it all go? How much is this? And so that's why I think if you hop on a call with us, it doesn't cost anything. We go through all the processes of like, here's, you know, this is the team that we have, but there's so much that we do for free that I feel like is so worth it. And I do know companies do charge for that. And it's like, that's not fair, you know? So how can we help? So I think with on our website, we have a couple free things there. We have a couple guides that we have. And so that's kind of been the one thing. I have a book that I'm trying to finish up. It's an ebook for parents on like, where do I start? Where do I go? So that's going to be coming soon. So
I love it. How can people find you? Where do they find you?
If they want to go to our website, it's www.westshield.com. That's probably going to be the best one to find and get that information. We have a lot of stuff on how it works, how to necessarily go through the whole process. And then Instagram or LinkedIn or anything like that if they want to get a hold of me directly. So,
How proud do you think your father is of you?
We just talked about that at Thanksgiving. It was a good conversation. He's very grateful, and that was his Thanksgiving thing, which is kind of cool. He was just grateful on like where the company's gone, how it's necessarily, the direction it's gone these last couple of years. And he sees a lot of the stuff that is going on. And so he was like, I'm very proud of where things are going and that. And I've been around this my whole life. Like I've seen a lot, I've heard a lot. And coming into my first conference my dad brought me, I was, I think 16 years old. And I'm like, what is this industry you're in? Why are you like, this is like all this stuff. Crazy. Like I had no idea.
Right.
And from that point, where it was a conference in Florida to now is just, he was like, I'm just very grateful that you had the passion and the heart to do this kind of work, because it's my younger brother, he was interested in it and stuff like that. And he went a different path. And I was like, I was so grateful that one of my sons had the heart for it. So that was something that was his Thanksgiving praise. So it was really cool.
So good. If you were on your deathbed and you had one last message for your family, your friends, what would that be?
Know Jesus. I think that's the number one thing is there's not any single thing on this earth that is worth it. No amount of money can buy anything back for you. It's just knowing Jesus. And I think that couple of if you have questions about it, definitely do your research. Every day that you don't actively seek him is just, it's not, one, it's not worth it. And two is that worth the gamble? I would say.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, I think that's it. It's just know Jesus and pursue it.
Amen.
Yeah. Amen.
Well, bro, it's been an honor to do this interview. And yeah, bro, I'm just proud of you with all the stuff that you've been doing and just your purpose, your mission. It's something I look up to.
Thank you, man.
So
appreciate it.
Yeah, bro, it's been an honor. We'll sign off.
You.
Awesome.